All right, welcome to Freethinker Radio here on KPFT. We're glad to be here. Had a eventful weekend out at Houston Open Air. We'll talk about that and many other things. We'll also be announcing some acts for the Community 12, November 12th. So, want to make sure we do all the housework first. Y'all get into KPFT and the different social media. They're everywhere. There's a ton of shows, a variety of shows, because this is not just programming, the same music all the time. It's shows with different takes, art. Some of them are about news. Much of ours is about news. And there are many music shows, and we often reference these shows, such as Sweet Nightmare on Thursday night. And right now, yes, that sounds much better. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all enjoy Vox Voces, and we'll get right back at you. All right. It's always fun to share good music with y'all. It's one of the many privileges and benefits of KPFT for both us and everyone else. Yes. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is called Freethinker Radio FEAT featuring CSK parentheses Cleveland. He's a performer like Vox Voces, and we'll get more into his personal story in a little bit. That's going to be at For the Community 12, November 12th. So
yeah.
Yeah, and definitely here with Derrick Broze. How are you, Derrick?
What's happening, everybody? I'm doing well. Just hanging out today. It's a good day. There's pretty good weather out there. It's been an interesting weekend, so lots to talk about. And like you said, we're talking CSK, who's a very cool dude that I got to meet when I went to Cleveland for the RNC and stayed at the community house he lives in. And we talked about him a couple weeks back as far as bringing them down, him and a few other friends down for the community, down to Houston to perform. But I'm also excited to hear about, he's been having some recent success, so this is why we want to bring his story, his music to you guys, just to let you know what's happening.
You bring up his music. We're going to be debuting a couple of his songs as well, right?
Yeah, we are going to play a couple songs. I think we'll hold off till we get him on the phone with us so he can tell us a little bit about them. But yeah, we're going to talk all about that. Also got lots of news coming up. But first we're going to tell you about some events that are coming around the city of Houston.
Yeah, there's a lot going on tonight. Most of you have heard or seen in social media. Open air. If you've been listening to us, you've been hearing some of the bands and us talk about it as well as giving away tickets. So yeah, it was great to get out and see Alice in Chains, The Cult, and it was good that To Whom It May got to open. That was pretty cool. Bummer on a lot of other things. I'm sure everyone could see that, but heck of a lineup. And one thing I want to, while we're on it, is let everybody know that if you have a Houston open air ticket, you can get in to see Avenged Sevenfold tonight at Walters, right? No, that was last night. Oops, too bad for y'all. But there's a free show with Avatar, however, from Sweden at Scout Bar tonight. So you get to get in Scout Bar, and it's free, and you don't even need a Houston open air ticket. So I think I'll see some friends out there. At least I hope so. But there's a lot of other stuff going on all week long in the city, in the Houston area, and we're going to get into some of that. Let's see. I guess we've talked about King's Court Tuesday a few times. That'll be going on tomorrow, 8:30 to 1 at 903 Hutchins. And Tiger Shark Goad and Will Sorba and a bunch of people such as those people come through. And this week it's Brian Rincon and Mike McAllen, as well as our friend DJ Rocked Boat. He's definitely been out at For the Community a few times, so it's good to see him doing other things as well. So yeah, that's going on tomorrow, 8:30 to 1, I guess. And there's another thing that seems pretty interesting. We haven't had a lot of time of talking about, and maybe we can get an interview with Gabe or something, but Gabe. But it turns out there's going to be a comedy open mic at Darwin's Wednesday. That could be something to get into.
I ran into him the other day, actually. I can't remember where, but we were talking briefly about maybe him adding a comedy element For the Community. He was interested. So
hey, that could be very interesting. He's a great guy. Been in the city doing things both musically and in comedy for a while, and it's great to see the Houston comedy scene growing up the way it has. And honestly, I need to get to more. So maybe this is a good thing at Darwin's. $2 margaritas, $2 tecate, and $2 tacos. I think I can scrape together some quarters and get myself a taco. Tacos. I love tacos, man. But really, and moving on. There's a screening of The Dressmaker at Sundance Houston. Another thing that people often don't recognize is that we do have a growing film scene as well. So it's nice to be able to talk about that. And that's at you can get into that at Magpies and Peacocks 908 Live Oak. So again, that is Wednesday from 6 to 9 if you're into that. All these will be found in the Facebook event for today.
We're going to pin that to the top right now, the Freethinker Radio Facebook page, the post about today with the event, and you can just go there and follow along all the articles and info.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe invite some friends to some stuff that you are interested in. That goes a long way, because one of the things we're trying to do in mentioning these events, we can't make it to all of them, is just show the diversity of things that are really happening here in Houston, because there's things happening. People just don't always know about it. So we want to use the opportunity given to us by the station here to get this stuff out. So, each week we start the episode off talking about events, and then we get into the local news and move on. So, got a couple more events to hit y'all up with. I appreciate y'all listening. At East End Studio Gallery, that's always a nice thing to get into. There's an event called Just Ink 6. I'm sure you can figure out what that's about. It's, a one-night party for inkers. So, yeah. It's got a long list of artists that are going to be involved. Dozens. You should get into the event and see what's up. The rules, they got rules. You know how we feel about rules. But yeah, it's open theme. It sounds pretty open. 3-foot wide wall space. So there should be some big and interesting things. So yeah, get out
tonight.
Now this one here is Friday at 6 to 9 at East End, and I think you can just go check it out. You know, I don't think there's any fee to go see it. Nope, just to participate. And they already got a huge list of participants, including some guy named Micah. So props out to fellow Micah Miade, or whoever he is, and Dave Sisney, who we've seen out at the Farmers Market, which is coming up this Saturday as well. So, you know, I'm just looking down the list thinking I don't know some of these people. And, yeah, there's some interesting artists that get out and get about in that lineup there. So, yeah, maybe we should definitely hope to find some of them at For the Community. And moving on.
I got a couple events that you guys might want to
change
check
up.
out.
My voice is getting boring.
For this Wednesday, I hope you guys will come out to the Midtown Bar and Grill upstairs, meet up with the Houston Freethinkers. This is going to be the first meeting we've had in a few months at least. Really, the summer, we took the summer off to kind of, all of us were doing different things really, but also to regroup and to see if the goals of what the Houston Freethinkers have been around for 6 years and stood for, if those goals are still necessary, if there's still people out there who care about the type of activism, type of community that we are trying to build. And it does seem that there is still a desire for that. People reached out, asked when we were going to do something again and what the next event was. So
I got a desire for that. There's a lot of fun, good things that happen, you know. It's cool to have a group of people to be able to talk to and have the openness that this community has had no matter which rendition or year we're in, you know.
Yeah,
Sorry
exactly.
to jump in there.
I think that's what's important, is that people understand that there's a huge community of all types of people that does everything from out there protesting, you know, police violence, to building community gardens, to putting on benefit shows, to going to city council for various things, to holding skill shares, and just doing a lot of different activism in different forms, and
working with other groups such as the ACLU.
I mean, really, one of the big things is it served as a network, I think, and that's what a lot of people have come to see it as. It's a huge network that allows a great variety of types of groups to work together, and we are happy about that. And we usually try to tell people when they come in, if you're interested in a topic and we're not able to take care of that, or we're not focusing on that, we can probably connect you to somebody who is. And if not, we usually end up helping work with other people to create a specific group that will focus on that, you know. So that's been groups like Fluoride Free Houston, Marching Against Monsanto Houston, the Peaceful Streets Project Houston, also recently Houston Stands with Standing Rock. It's a lot of HFT people involved in there as well. So it's a beautiful thing. And so we're meeting this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Midtown Bar and Grill upstairs, and we'll be discussing really just, you know, seeing where everybody's at, talking about recent activism that's going on in the city, where people are at, what they're interested in, how the Houston Freethinkers as a community and as an entity, as an idea, can help, what, you know, the channels we have, how we can help reach other people. And also this Saturday, myself and a couple other people will be moving into what is going to be the Freethinker House, the latest rendition after a couple years of not having a community space and meeting at Midtown Bar and Grill, which we are thankful for because they're always very kind to us and what our group is about and what our community is about. They're very supportive, so that's always cool to have support in the community in a place that gives you that space to do that. But we're going to have a community space now, and that'll allow us even more freedom and more events that are directly based in our community and allow us to do things how we want to do them, and
you know how that is if you've been around. You know how we
give
like
you a
to do
space
things,
for open mics, for skill shares, for house meetings that can be a bit more personal.
House parties.
We have house parties. We have a big garden, a big yard that we're going to use for gardening different projects.
House
and
parties.
Definitely plan to have a Halloween house party, and there's some works for maybe for the
Screenings?
community post party, after for the community for benefit purposes. We'll definitely have documentary screenings, so all kinds of possibilities. And we've even talked about using some of the space to have as a studio for Houston Freethinkers who want to come record, videos, or if they want to learn about video recording, editing, things like that, or do music there. Maybe Visionary Noise and Freethinker Radio will be involved with that. But a lot of different possibilities. So if you're interested in the Houston Freethinkers, you can always keep up with the HoustonFreethinkers.com. Since we've been on a break, there really hasn't been any updates. I think I posted something about that a couple months ago saying that we were taking time off. And I plan to make a post probably tonight about the meeting this Wednesday, and the calendar will begin getting updated as we add events and things like that. Yeah, it says, as I said, HFT returning in September 2016. I posted that in August, and here we are, meeting at the end of September and getting ready for October and looking forward ahead for those who have been involved for a while or those who've maybe listened to the show or sort of watched from the internet. If we are going to have a 6-year anniversary celebration, really this summer itself is, but we're kind of in the 6 years since 2010 from the beginning of the blog. And
we call it a celebration to keep it really down low.
Yeah, and potluck get together at the Freethinker House, community. Instead of having a meeting in October, we'll just have that and get everybody together and I would like to see friends I haven't seen in a long time that were involved in the first year or the first couple years, and then people who more recently have been involved and people who are just interested and never got involved, and just get everybody together and just talk about ideas and experiences we've had and what this means, and again see where we can take that energy and that idea and that force. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, Wednesday night, and then new Freethinker House next month.
Exciting stuff. Definitely many opportunities for events and new ways to reach people. With the loss of many of the underground venues recently, it's great to see the Freethinker House in itself was never really an underground venue, but it occasionally did surface one can say, because, like we said, at the second Freethinker House, day 2 for the Community 6 was held, as well as numerous house parties and many at Halloween with people now that you see on festivals. So, there's great opportunity in this for everyone, and, we're looking forward to that growth. I got a few more events, and then we'll get on to some news, I imagine.
Yeah, I got 2 more myself whenever you're done.
Nice. So get a few of these out of the way at least. I was going to talk about this one momentarily. I don't know much about it, but I did see that Lyric Michelle is on it, as well as the Waxaholics. A much bigger lineup than that, called Groove Fest, and that is coming up September 30th, and I'm not whatever day that is. But we got a few other things going on. There's a night fair before Christmas, Friday from 6 to 10 at Cecil's Pub. I was going to mention it because I guess, it's Cecil's. What can I say? And I guess they say 3 words to sum it up, because I'm not going to spend too long on it. Fun, fantasy, fusion. Yeah.
Fun, fantasy, fusion.
Yep.
I can dig it.
And I was going to go ahead and get into a couple of events. Meraki Tosca, along with Secondhand Haven Locket, and more are out at, oh my gosh, what is this place? 7444 Harrisburg. It doesn't have a name, but 7444 Harrisburg.
That's all you need to know.
Friday, yeah, Meraki Tosca.
It's so cool, there's no name.
Nice. FaceTime Patterns, and Patterns will be out for the community. Some Nerve, Lion of Wall Street, and are all going to be at Walters coming up Friday at
Lion
7.
Of Wall Street. They played at one of our shows a few years back.
Yeah, they got a good name too. I like that. And I've only got 2 more events. We got Jody Seabody tour kickoff. How can I not mention that, with Funeral Horse, Giant Kitty, John Black, all of who just continue to amaze Houston and growing quickly into regional acts if they're not already. I've got a great new album out by Jody Seabody. So, yeah, get into the Holographic Slammer Tour that's taking off Friday at 8. And the last thing I want to mention, we mention it every month, is the Heights Epicurean Farmers Market is Saturday morning from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. Last week, who'd we have come out there? D-Trey Val, as well as Miguel from Bloodsucking Fiends. 30-plus vendors, typically, all kinds of different stuff. It's in flux. They often have vegetables, stuff like that, but many artists come and go, so there's always something to check out at that, and that's right there on the boulevard at 1245 Heights Boulevard, Saturday morning.
Cool. I want to mention 2 more. I did mention Houston Stands with Standing Rock, and this is 2 actions related to that. One of them is this Thursday at 5 p.m. There's a 5 o'clock over 59 banner drop at the Montrose Bridge on Highway 59 at 5 p.m. It says the traffic here is intense that time. We have a captive audience. So we have a total of 4 large banners, simple messages. There's going to be a prep party with our friend Oscar, who is one of the, sort of active activists within Houston Stands with Standing Rock. The prep party is, what's today's date? It will be Wednesday night. So Wednesday night around the HFT meeting, same time, unfortunately. But maybe you can go to the HFT meeting for a while and go there. Or, either way, if you miss our meeting, we'll keep you updated if you want to go to this. But 4002 Chartreuse supplies to donate. Black, white, yellow, blue spray paint, bed sheets for banners. They'll be making that and then dropping those banners at 5 o'clock on 59. And then on Friday, of course, there's the DAPL, No Dakota Access Pipeline benefit show, donation collection show with Ganesha, Karmasi, and Vox Voces at Natsuo. That's a free show being put on by our friends at Disfrutalo, and they're allowing the Houston Freethinkers and Houston Standing Rock to collect donations and money to try to take a trip back there and deliver these donations, supplies, sleeping bags, socks, coats, etc. So you can find that on the Houston Standing Rock page. And of course, we are posting these. I know I am. I don't know if Micah's going to post all those things he just listed. We'll see. But I'm posting all the links I just talked about in the top thread right there. Oh, dang, he's ahead of me. And yeah, so this is going to be one of the bands you'll hear at For the Community. This is going to be our friends Metanoia, who played a show this weekend, and I heard it was really awesome. I didn't get to check it out, but I believe they have some new recordings coming our way very soon.
They're definitely one of these bands that started out good and have just grown from that.
Yeah, there's some exciting things coming up with this band, so check them out. They'll be at For the Community November 12th, along with most of the artists you're going to hear today, including CSK in the second hour of the show. So stay tuned. You're listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 Houston.
All right. Yeah, I definitely appreciate all y'all's patience as we go through everything. You know, it's a lot to do. We have a lot of stories, a lot of events, a lot of equipment, and we have a lot of friends out there. So we do appreciate all our friends out there that support and invite to the different events, such as today's. And I want to remind everyone that you can pick up the archive both from the KPFT archive, kpft.org, but you can also pick it up on YouTube on the Houston Free Thinkers YouTube channel.
Yep, I was just editing last week's episode and today's earlier today, and those should be on the YouTube channel.
And there's lots of reasons.
This afternoon or so.
There's lots of reasons to check out the archive, other shows, but our show particularly because sometimes we don't really have the opportunity to get into some of this music again. So the music, the interviews.
We try to play different things every time and not just the same thing over and over. Like obviously we show love to people we really like and play them maybe a same song every couple shows. But we're always trying to mix it up, especially because we have For the Community coming up. We're trying to show you a wide range of music.
Yeah, so if you're into getting some of your stuff out here, feel free to message the page. And we definitely want to bring up the call-in number today. It's 713-526-8737. If you got something to say about any of the topics we cover, they're sometimes disturbing, sometimes delighting. It's hard to know. You know, it's a range of ideas that a free-thinking mind covers. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. With that being said, I think I'm going to be quiet and get some news articles open and let you just hit them with what
there's
you got.
A couple of things happening in Houston that I guess we should discuss. Maybe some have heard. There was a shooting, what they call active shooter shooting in Houston earlier today. And first off, if that's if I don't have the details, I'm trying to pull it up right now. But if anybody was hurt, of course we hope
I heard it
was
was
okay.
A disgruntled attorney,
and that's what I did. I was hearing that as well. That it was the man was an attorney, and they were trying to look and see if there had anything to do with something to do with his job or anything like that. And let's see. Let's get to that story first, since I guess that's the top. Since there's been a number of shootings happening in the country, we're going to get into more of that later. Once we get into national news, I want to just kind of try to digest the topic a little bit deeper and look at some specific angles that you guys might be interested in. As Micah mentioned, we're going to be taking callers throughout the show. 713-526-8737. 9 wounded in Houston shooting. Suspect dead. Was a lawyer, being reported by the Associated Press. 9 people were shot, one in critical condition in a Houston neighborhood Monday morning by a lawyer who had issues with his law firm. The first report of the shootings began around 6:30 a.m. And when officers arrived, the suspect began firing at them. Police shot the man. Numerous weapons were found at the scene, and a bomb squad robot was looking at a Porsche that they believed was his. And this was an early report, so I do believe they had some robot go look at it, and there was nothing. There was no bomb. Some witnesses described the gunman firing dozens of shots at cars passing through a condo complex, which is near the affluent West University Place community. Several cars with bullet holes and shattered windows were at parking lot near the condo complex. Of the 9 wounded, 1 is in critical condition, another is in serious condition. 3 people were treated and released. The mayor said he was either fired or had a bad relationship with his law firm. The investigation is active. It's very early. We want to make sure there are no other gunmen. And let's see right now if we can see if the Houston Police Department, they were tweeting about this earlier. Let's check their Twitter account right now and see if there's anything else. Next news briefing on shooting incident at 4000 Law, scheduled for 4:30 p.m. today. So that'll happen during our show at HPD Edward A. Thomas Building. And while we're on air, I'll look and see if maybe we can find a live broadcast of that and play that over air and let you guys hear about that. Because, it's always interesting. I don't even want to get into the conspiracy angle about these things because you have, active shooter things happening around the country. And sometimes people point to different discrepancies or patterns like, hey, look, there was drills right near the area days before, or hey, this person has connection to the FBI, the CIA, or some kind of government agency, or hey, just different shady things. But at this point, I'm glad people are okay, and that I'm sorry those who are injured, and I hope that everybody gets out of it okay. Unfortunately, somebody died. The police, they tweeted the same thing. He was a lawyer. Suspect had a vehicle, had additional weapons inside of it. And news briefing at 4:30 p.m. today. For more information on that, we'll keep you guys updated. So hopefully everybody's gonna. I don't know. I don't think the answer to this, which is what some politicians will be sure to jump to, because unfortunately, for those of you who have TV, if you do have TV, do everything you can possibly do to avoid watching the debate tonight. Everything possible. Don't even...
That's not too hard for some of us, but some of you, it might really be like avoiding your favorite sporting event.
Yeah, you might be like, it's going to be a train wreck. Let me watch it. Let me do this. But I guarantee you there are much better uses of your time. And in fact, at some point in the show, we're going to make a list, and we'll just fire off a bunch of reasons why, of better things you could do, and maybe you could call in.
Yeah,
exactly. You could think of better things.
This is the question. What better can you do than watch the debates? You know,
what else out there is more exciting, more interesting, more valuable?
Blank is a better use of my time than watching the debate.
Whatever, yeah. Let us know what is a better use of your time rather than watching that debate. But what I was going to assume, though, is I bet these debates will take advantage of this conversation, and different politicians like them will use it to call for more government, as usual, growing the government to keep you safe.
Taking freedom.
Which it amounts to taking of various types of freedom to keep you safe out there.
They're going to free you.
So, yeah, again, hopefully everybody's okay. We'll wait for more details. And if you hear details later that, this guy was trained by the CIA or he was in military or something like that, I'm just saying.
Just remember, we didn't speculate.
Yeah, just maybe there's something to that. Look further into it.
But we will cover it.
Another report, HPD arrests 12 people in an illegal stash house raid in North Houston. Let's see if this is
What is a stash house?
It's a place where you stash
everything.
Things. This says police say a tip led to the arrest of 12 suspected illegal immigrants. That's kind of lame.
Stashing the illegal
Call
immigrants.
came in about an alleged illegal stash house on Bowman and Briarcliff Drive near Tidwell. When HPD went to check the location around 11 p.m. last night, they found 12 people. ICE was called to the scene, and a dozen people who believed to have been undocumented.
Undocumented people.
How horrible. We do not know either the age, race, or gender of those, but hope to learn more. HPD was unable to tell who owns the property where the 12 people were found. No update since that arrest of 12 people inside.
Speaking as a documented person, I don't think it's all that hot, being documented.
Yeah. Speaking as a documented person, yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Sometimes I would wish I was less documented. In fact,
for sure, lists.
I recently got a passport so that I can go to Costa Rica for my birthday, but I was just referring to it as more of like a permission slip to leave the country to someone else.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll pull this clip up too. Have you seen that? There's some movie it's from the 50s called like King of New York or something, or
the old King of New York from like the 80s.
With a little, I don't know. This was something like much older. It was like maybe that wasn't even the name. But it has something New York in there. But it's got this little kid, and I don't know the context of the rest of the movie, but I see people on social media sharing this little kid's speech. It's basically this like adult got me to talk to him, like, what are you reading about? And he's just like Karl Marx, and he's just talking about freedom and just all this different stuff, and he starts just like getting in the guy's face and talking about passports, and that's one of the things that got me thinking about it again. But yeah, as far as documentation, I wish that
there were less.
Oh God, hold on. Let me jump to this. It's
undocumented lives matter.
Apparently, eyewitnesses ducked for cover. This is happening right now. After police say a lawyer armed with several weapons, this is from earlier, opened fire near a bomb squad cleared his vehicle. The portion question is registered to Nathan Desai, and then out says ABC News is reporting that 2 guns and Nazi materials were found at the scene. ABC has confirmed, whatever that means, that Nazi materials were found inside the car registered to him. Like, Desai has been identified as a local attorney. He has been in contact with his father and former law partners.
God only knows what this guy's going through.
So, yeah. Nazi materials. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, that sounds kind of cray.
I got one more story here about some local activism that took place this weekend, I think, if that's correct. Yeah, it says this was Saturday. With chants of no justice, no peace, no racist police, Black Lives Matter supporters marched from McGregor Park. Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about this Saturday night through the University of Houston down to Texas Southern University. As part of a day of remembrance, they protested in honor of people who have died from officer-involved shootings or other incidents locally and across the nation. Gregory Chapman, one of the organizers of the event, says, "We just want black people to feel safe in our communities. We want to go outside without worrying about if the police are going to kill us today or harass us today." He said, Jonathan Muse, another protester, says, "Racism is real in America. The civil rights movement did a lot, but it didn't accomplish everything. There were speakers at McGregor Park emphasizing the importance of speaking up and not letting others silence their voices. They were also encouraging people to vote in local elections as well as the presidential election. And there was some tense moments, apparently, when the protesters faced off with HPD officers on UH campus. Officers were trying to keep them from heading towards Interstate 45, where they may have tried to block it. Protesters then turned and walked through the parking lot instead, with the officers walking closely behind them. and there was the usual horseback officers and all that stuff, all that usual.
Got the usuals. Well, there's a few usual stories we've been following, and there's recent, I guess, updates on them. That some of these articles and themes we can't do justice to in an hour or in a week. So we want to make sure that if you have any concerns about the stories we're covering, that you can find that source material within the event on Facebook for today. So with that being said, because I know I'm going to rocket through a few of these, we've been talking about that Harris County what do you call it? The constables, that precinct 4 constables.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about that one for a
evidence
minute.
Destruction.
Yeah, that right now for just precinct 4, it turns out that there may be another precinct involved, but on precinct 4, over 1,000. Now it turns out that over 1,000. I think just a week ago we were talking about a few hundred, but now over 1,000 criminal cases likely compromised in their destruction scandal. If you haven't been following that, you can get into that a little bit more. 21,000 pieces of evidence were destroyed, et cetera, et cetera. That sounds like an inside job.
How do they get so many? I just don't understand, like, how these, like, whoops, somebody accidentally did.
Yeah, pretty much, and that guy was fired.
Sounds like this is a local problem all the way up to the presidential.
But he was fired after the internal investigation. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, it turns out that syringes, scales, bongs. See, they're losing people's bongs. Coffee grinders, women's purses, 2 diapers. Think about that. They can't even hang on to a diaper. Pink baby bottles, guns, and
These are pieces of evidence that are missing.
Yeah, large quantities of ammunition. You got to think about that. That stuff's probably worth something on the street, on the black market, gray market, in the neighborhoods.
Maybe there was some evidence there.
Methamphetamine. I know they can be selling that.
Wow.
Maybe they're saying they're destroying it when they're smoking it.
Yeah, or maybe something in there implicated somebody else, and who knows? But it's definitely showing some lack of accountability and some ineptitude here.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself. You really do. And there's a ton of stuff on there. What's funny now, and I mentioned this, I think, either last episode or the one before, is there's a gentleman who's claiming they have no evidence, right? So he's been arrested, gone to jail, and I imagine thousands more probably. Basically, are claiming that their constitutional rights were violated, and there's no evidence for them, and they're suing. Think about it. They're suing for false arrest, basically, because the state has no evidence. They detained them and did all this stuff and have nothing to close the case. So what if they're murderers? What if one of these cases was a very important case? You see what I'm saying? Like, what if it was someone? I don't know. I'm just speculating, I imagine that some of the cases were important, and some of them are probably just victimless crimes with people being, persecuted. So, for those people, I guess I could be happy. But yeah, let's talk about that. So we've been covering this for over a month, I believe, and it's just growing, and it like most of these things. And one of the themes that we keep bringing up is, as we talk about Houston and Harris County and Texas, maybe some of these things like stingrays, et cetera, are going on wherever you live, like our friends in Australia and our friends in Oregon and our friends on the East Coast. So I know sometimes we do get bogged down in these things, but it is still, what's happening. These are the county government here, and this is how they prosecute people, and this is what's going on. And it turns out that concerns about missing evidence have now spread to another Harris County constable's office, Precinct 7. And this one, like the other, they're kind of popping up. They're saying maybe there were 100 criminal cases related to a massive destruction.
Maybe.
So, yeah. We'll
I wonder whose criminal cases were in there that just all of a sudden now that evidence may be gone.
Okay, do they pay for it?
I saw one story say that they contacted like local attorneys and stuff and say, check your evidence, like if you have copies of it, because we may have just lost all of it.
Yeah, because, think about it. If you're an attorney for a defendant on where the state's just violating him, like, if you're a good attorney, are you going to give them that? But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully people didn't leave it all in the hands of the cops, and then now it's gone.
But yeah, there's some strange stuff going on with that. And there's a few other things in the county real quick that we've been covering is this bail system. We've been talking about how it hurts the middle class and the poor the most, basically. The people who, if they get arrested, they either got to make a horrendous bail, they're not getting recognizance bonds, on petty little things. I guess one woman was in jail for like 10 days because she couldn't afford a $1,500 bail, or a bond or whatever, for driving without a license, things like that. So there's a lot of that. But it turns out that the news on that is that Harris County's defense of this, because they just keep, saying, no, we're constitutional, we're fair, or whatever. But them doing that over and over and over and over in court is turning out that it's costing, just like when they have a beatdown, and it costs the taxpayers, or they lose evidence and it costs the taxpayers. So here, the bail system is now costing taxpayers thousands of dollars to defend. To defend this system. So, maybe that's something that we can get in here on the local. Is the bail system corrupt? In a lot of ways, it does seem like it holds the weak, the poor, and the lower middle classes down the most, for often victimless crimes. And then they're, often lose their jobs in addition to that because they've been in jail for a week. I don't think that that's the answer for like a joint or, I don't know, if you were sleeping on public property or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think there's criminalization taking place here, part of the overall mass criminalization that we see of people through prosecuting victimless crimes like drug abuse and homelessness. And
they're creating a caste system. You can have a job and you cannot.
Yep, and then that's the other aspect of it. Once you get out of their prisons because of their silly laws and restrictions, you've got an X on your back as a felon or as a criminal, and they sort of promote this mentality that those people who have those labels attached to them are somehow to be shunned, or they should suffer more or have more difficult circumstances in order to exist.
There may be some of them, like murderers or something, we want to keep track of, but that doesn't mean that like every crime is justified with that.
I would say not.
All right, two more locals, and then maybe we can hit some other stuff. This one I'm going to hit real quick. FEMA is releasing a final update to Harris County's Houston coastal flood map. You can imagine with all the construction, there's a lot of new stuff going on there. It turns out that 400 property owners will see a drop, however, in their flood risk, but about 8,000 others are being moved into a higher risk category known as special flood hazard area. So welcome to being documented, you 8,000, because now you're in a special flood hazard area, and FEMA's got a special cap for you. Because of that, they say we want homeowners and property owners to know what their risk is, and then talk to their insurance agent about what that means for them, make informed decisions based on what they know about the changing risk, and understand their best options are, blah, 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 This new map takes effect January 2017. Property owners have until the rest of 2017 to decide whether to increase insurance coverage they already have or buy some for the first time before the next major flooding event hits the region. Or you can just gamble and take your chances and build a house that, maybe you don't want to live on the beach right there on the, on the shore. But yeah, and I don't know if I really want to cover this too much, but I thought it's something to think about. Turns out, and I don't know the place, I don't frequent the place, but it looks kind of cool on the building and such, but the V Live Club is getting sued by the Harris County Attorney's Office, and I think the case is kind of interesting because it's basically a nightclub, but it's being accused, being a den of iniquity or whatever, accused of numerous illegal activities, and the Harris County office is looking to shut it down.
Shut it down.
These activities you might want to think about include reckless discharge of a firearm as prohibited by the penal code. Basically, someone came in there and discharged the firearm. It wasn't that the place did. Okay, so think about that. If you got a business and someone comes and shoots guns off in your business, you could be shut down. Then, delivery, possession, manufacture, or use of a controlled substance. And then, gambling promotion. Like, don't we have the lottery? Only the state can gamble. One rule for you and one for everyone else. So gambling promotion, or communicating gambling information. I don't even know what communicating gambling information is, but it's probably something. And then prostitution, promotion of prostitution, or aggravated promotion of prostitution. You will buy these whores.
Oh, God.
But nonetheless, it turns out that they're also accused of allowing sexual assault, sexual abuse of children, not something to laugh about, robbery and murder, and more. And also, it turns out that I forgot which. Moses Malone Jr., son of the NBA legend, was attacked and robbed by a group of armed men on June 25th. There, in the parking lot. I get it, but is taking it out on the club really what's going on? Because I haven't seen any evidence put forward about their violations. Okay, I mean, really, how can you hold this club responsible unless they actually contributed to that? So I don't know much, but that may be a case we see growing, like these other two that we've been watching for a while now, and the Stingray, and the things that just keep unfolding to being bigger than they often are. And I think that's the way to look at the news. It doesn't mean it's going to be, but what does this represent? Just like commercials, what do they represent beyond just that basic surface story that they're telling you? Don't jump to conclusions, but think for yourself. If you just believe your news and it's telling you everything you want to hear, you got a real issue.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to jump to a song real quick and then come back and dive into some some national news, and then talk to our guest at, we'll probably get a story or so in before we talk to him at 4 o'clock, and then we'll continue once we're through with CSK with national and international news, and of course taking your calls at 713-526-8737. Thank you guys for listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston. This is Manankari.
Power comes from us. Power is in your heartbeat. It sends electrical energy, and your brain transmits through what is called thought. See, but in the land of deceit, sleight of mind, and delusion, we get confused. But power comes from us. making sense? All right. See, so if you look at reality with clarity, money is about authority, not power. Politics is about authority. Military is about authority. Religion is all about authority. We've been programmed to believe that these things represent power. But in reality, they represent forms of authority. Power is an entirely different thing.
Welcome back to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston. My name is Derrick Broze. I'm here with Micah Jackson.
Thank y'all for tuning in and all the support that you give. It's an honor to be here. And I think a lot of the stories we cover and the music we cover is important for people to think about. So, I think that's why we're in it. And, if you think this is a resource, I want to implore that you find a way to support KPFT. There's many different ways. And with that, I'm going to be quiet and let you
Cool.
the story.
We're going to start getting into some national, Texas, state, across the country news now. And I want to start with one first here that relates to surveillance and fighting surveillance on a local level. And there's even more of this story that I'll kind of give a preview of to our audience here because it hasn't really officially been announced yet. But a national effort was launched last week by the ACLU and 16 other organizations, maybe more by now, that are calling for local legislation, local efforts to combat the growing surveillance state. On Wednesday, the ACLU and a coalition of 16 other civil liberties and technology firms announced the beginning of a national effort to combat the growth of secretive surveillance technology in many different forms. The coalition's aim is, quote, to stop the unchecked, secret, and too often discriminatory use of surveillance technologies by local police and to move their approval process out of the darkness and into the light. The initiative is dubbed Community Control over Police Surveillance, and basically it's focusing on action on a local city level. The ACLU is joined by the NAACP, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the National Network for Arab American Communities, Fight for the Future, the 10th Amendment Center, and many others. And the ACLU wrote, given the potential for controversy, local police forces have largely taken to acquiring and using surveillance technologies in secret. Of course, when the police conceal their use of surveillance technologies, they also greatly enhance their ability to conceal its misuse, such as using a surveillance technology without a properly obtained warrant or in a discriminatory manner. The launch was started by 11 cities, including Seattle, New York City, Washington, D.C., Miami, and others. The legislation is going to focus on increasing transparency and giving community members more of a say in the decision-making process. Because, believe it or not, local police departments, 60-plus at least, that we know now, actually I think the number is closer to 100, according to ACLU and their records. But police departments around the country have cell site simulators. We've talked about those are known as stingrays that can steal your cell phone data. They have automatic license plate readers that track drivers wherever they go. Aerial surveillance by secret aircraft that are operating. Definitely we know this in Houston. We've talked about this. Gunshot detector listening devices that can be installed in light poles and other equipment that you see on the street. Hardware and computer software that allows police to look into your vehicle or home from more than 50 feet away. Social media monitoring technology, we'll talk more about that in a minute, and biometric technology. So police departments, a growing number of them around the country, are getting technology like this and often doing this without any sort of public debate. There's no vote. It's just, this is the importance of going to city council sometimes, I would say, if you're trying to keep up to date. There's contracts constantly being signed, and one of them is for water fluoridation. One of them is for the Harris Corps for a new Stingray device. One of them is for this other company that makes the social media monitoring technology. So they're just signing agreements and they're saying, yep, okay, cool, we approve that. And then the police get access to funds. And yeah, nobody ever pays attention to this. So the ACLU is really trying to push to get more of a hold on this and more attention to this. It's called Community Control over Police Surveillance. And I do want to say one of the coolest things, I'm going to share the article that covers this, but in the article there's a link to their what they call Technology 101 primer, which is it's about 12 pages long, and it basically gives a basic explanation of all those technologies I just listed: stingrays, license plate readers, gunshot detectors, biometric stuff, all that. Gives you a little explanation of that and how police are using that. Very informative. I recommend everybody check that out, and I have heard that Houston will be a part of a new effort coming, because these 11 cities that launched are just the first of more to come. There's going to be more efforts, and I do believe the ACLU here in Houston and others are going to be involved with launching legislation focused on the similar thing. Because, it seems so basic. Essentially all they're saying is before police are allowed to go buy some crazy spy equipment, there should be a public hearing.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
you're supposed to be safe in your house and in your possessions. At least that's a civil right of free people. We assume this opportunity, like in your room when you're just doing your stuff, you don't expect the neighbor to just walk in. That would be out of place, irrational, weird, right? But for some reason, I guess they think the police spying from 50 yards away, or putting a stingray on your cell phone, or whatever, doing those things is okay. Yet often we find these situations like we've been talking about the beat downs that occur, the loss of evidence for thousands and thousands of cases, and how can we believe that these people are, qualified to use this equipment? So that's, just I'd say, based on the evidence approach to things. I mean, what's wrong with being an individual who uses their mind to try to figure out what's going on around them? And when these things are going on around you, it seems like it'd almost be foolish not to do things, take some precautionary measures. You don't know that you're being spied on, but check it out. Years ago, I used to cover up my laptop camera. I think most of my friends did too. And every once in a while we'd run into someone who's like, ha ha ha. Well, turns out that recently FBI Director James Corney, we're talking about eavesdropping and getting into people's business, so we might as well talk about this. FBI Director James Corney recommended that we all cover our webcams with tape. Think about that. That Federal Bureau of... Anyway, this guy, James Corney, who works for the government, who's kind of in charge of a big organization, says that everyone should take these simple steps to take responsibility for our own safety and security. So, it turns out that he doesn't want to be spied on. And, hey... in questions during a conference at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Corney revealed that cam covering is commonplace at the FBI and at other government offices. It's not crazy that the FBI director cares about personal security as well, he added. If you go into any government office, we all have our little camera things that sit on top of the screen. They all have a little lid that closes down on them. You do that so people who do not have authority don't look at you. I think it's a good thing. I agree with this dude from the FBI. Pretty cool, huh? But, just as it was when people spotted Mark Zuckerberg's webcam with tape over it in a photo, many people have been paying attention to cybercrime and punishment, have been covering webcams for years and telling all our friends and family to do it. Turns out, though, in 2010, and I think we covered this years back, a Pennsylvania school narrowly escaped criminal charges when it was caught secretly taking photos of students through the webcams on school-issued laptops. Harrington High School student Blake Robbins filed a civil suit, and the FBI launched an investigation when he found out school employees had photographed him 400 times. Think about this. This is your underage child. Photographed him 400 times over a 2-week period. Sometimes while he was partially undressed or sleeping. God knows what else he might have been doing.
Are you talking about them remotely turning on the cameras and stuff?
Yep. Yeah. School officials said they had a tracking system for finding lost or stolen laptops, but admitted that the software program took images every 15 minutes without telling the user. Think about that. All those school kids. It turns out they'd snapped over 56,000 privacy-violating pictures of students. But yeah, wow. Definitely. That's
where was that at?
That one was in Pennsylvania. The list goes on. This story is huge.
It's not just happening in Pennsylvania. Cover your webcams for sure.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's actually getting out there. That these are facts. People putting this stuff together with all these different. Turns out that you can buy access to 100 guys' webcams without them knowing for $1, or you can buy access to a woman's for $1 per girl.
I'll creep all of you guys out right now. Look, I'm going to tell you the name of this website. I think it's called Shodan, but it's basically Shodan. Shodan SHODAN.io.
Wait in the C-Dan.
Shodan.io. So you go there. It's basically the search engine for the Internet of Things, which we're going to do a story on later. Just all the different. The Internet of Things is the name for all of our cameras on our phones, the laptop devices. When you connect those together, they create basically this huge world of information. So on this search engine, you can literally tune in and watch random people's baby cameras that they put in the room for the babies. You can see the cribs. You can see people's CCTV. I mean, it's nuts, but it helps you realize how open and accessible all your devices are. But we got our guest on the line now. I believe we've got our friend Toby of CSK from Cleveland. How you doing, brother?
Yo, man, I'm doing good. I'm working as a bike courier right now, and I just ducked into this small area so I can hear better.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your day. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Welcome. I'm just glad to talk to you today. You're coming down for the community, I believe.
Sorry, what was that? I had to duck into this building.
Yeah, no problem, man. I think you're coming down to Houston, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, maybe you should introduce yourself to all our friends that are listening and tell us a little bit about yourself. And, we'll talk more and play more of the music and hope to have more people come out and meet you when you get here. But
what is CSK? What is Create, Share, Know? What's that all about?
CSK, it stands for Create, Share, Know, but honestly, it's an acronym that my friend, when he was in high school, started writing CSK as a graffiti crew with him and all his boys. So I meet the dude in college, and he starts writing CSK. A couple of my friends start being graffiti writers, and they're all writing the CSK. And meanwhile, my drawing skills / graffiti skills are poor at best. So I wanted to be part of this crew. So I figured I'm going to start a little rap collective with my friends, and we're just going to go by CSK and spread the name via music rather than writing stuff.
Nice. Good to see the human creativity and how it just finds an avenue,
Yes, sir.
How long have you been making music, man? I think you play guitar, I know that, and how did you first get involved though in just creating music?
Well, I started making music when I was probably 7th grade, I guess. My dad gave me my first guitar. My dad's been a big music guy his whole life, and so getting his son to play guitar was kind of a must. So I've done that for a while, but I didn't start rapping until my junior year of high school. I started rapping. I got a rock band mic and a free trial Mixcraft with my little brother, John. And as soon as we got the Mixcraft trial thing, we plugged in his microphone, made a little mixtape that was honestly just stolen beats and pretty terrible, but we called it the GA mixtape, which was our high school's GA Gilmore Academy. Passed out some burned CDs, and I was hooked since then.
Nice. Heck yeah.
So have you put out a mixtape, but what is the the one thing I know about them when I met you out there is that you put music out on a weekly basis, and I really respect that and appreciate that. So in addition to the mixtapes, what other releases have you had? And tell everybody about your regular releases you do.
Okay. Well, yeah, so I have a mixtape called, I had that one in high school, but I don't even really count that. I don't know where that thing is anyways. I got this mixtape called Toby's Plaza, which I did about 2 years ago when I was first living out on my own. And I post all my music to this website. It's huffcrowd.bandcamp.com. Huffcrowd spelled Hough, crowd, like a crowd of people, .bandcamp.com. So every week, I pretty much push myself to make a new song by Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I post a new song on my Bandcamp, post it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, all social medias, and just kind of try to push myself to keep being creative and just keep making content because it's only going to get better.
Awesome, man. Well, so I saw that you released one just this past week, and I think you've got a version we can play on air. This song,
Clap, Clap.
Yeah, tell us about that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll lay that on there, and we'll talk to you some more.
Right on. Well, Clap Clap. So, like I said, I've been doing this bike courier job. So, Clap Clap, last Tuesday, I showed up to my shift with nothing written and a beat that was honestly just a 30-second loop that my friend Chris DeCole makes all my beats. He's actually also playing that, too. He's playing in Houston as well. He's also a part of CSK.
Oh, definitely. Welcome.
Yeah, the dude gave me a 30-second beat, and I spent 5 hours of my shift just kind of writing that song and showed up at the studio later that night and laid it down.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out. This is Clap Clap from CSK. You're listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
Christopher makes the beats. Huff crowd round the block, spread about with a mouth. Hi, hi, hi. Damn it. I was too early. I was going to do it again. Clap, clap. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Now this is probably gonna sound a little cocky. What it? Tuning my own horn like a goal scored in hockey. Oh, tickle you with lingo, working fo, tap and go, trying to get this bread dough, trying to get ahead, dog. I'm just trying to tell y'all, I fucking accept y'all. Make me feel blessed just to even impress y'all. I'll give you everything I got until I gotta stop. And if I gotta stop, there's nothing left, y'all. Make every conversation that I have a pep talk. Make their hair stand on their head like a hedgehog. Like you've seen a ghost like Ed Odd, chilling with his head off. You like, damn, that's an honorable man. That's true. I'm an honorable man standing right in front of you. I get water in my water cup. I don't cheat on girls, but if we speaking about my girl, then we better speak in plurals. I am everything a rapper need to be. Oh, you the shit, really? Well, you gon' have to take it after me. I got all the game like an athlete. Up crowd, we a team of geniuses, mathletes. I got a disease, you could be the vaccine. So put your hands together and keep clapping. Up crowd, I put the team up on my back. Up crowd, we throw the parties, but we never relax. Clap, clap, you know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap, you know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap, you know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap, you know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Give me your applause. That's a handout. Give me your applause. I just want to stand out. Give me your applause. That's a handout. Give me your applause. I just want to stand out. Hands up while I jam out. No, hands down. Who's the best hype man type clown round C-Town? I guess it's me now. I got a cocaine buzz you know you need now. But I ain't do no lines, it's just weed now. That plus rap, the only thing I'm deep out. I'm a submarine, don't you think I'm deep now? I'm a submarine, don't you think I'm deep now? I got the need to speak out, be loud. But artwork is hard work, so I've been taking more time to read now and scheme about how to make a crowd scream now. That's my fucking dream now. Killing it's the theme now. I go hard in the paint. Rebounds when you close my casket. Let it be to the sound of hands clapping. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback. Clap, clap. You know I need that. I'm a fiend and I feed off feedback.
All right, welcome back to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston. That was CSK, Create, Share, Know, with Clap Clap, and we have, I think, one half of CSK, basically the vocalist you heard there with us. Toby, how you doing?
Doing all right. What's up?
Well, go ahead and apologize to the FCC, will you?
I'm going to say, yeah, FCC, my bad again. All fines will be rerouted towards Ryan Toby.
But that was a great song. Yeah, we're always happy to play new music and happy to get it out there. Unfortunately, the one downside of me, as much as we're very thankful for KPFT for giving us this community resource, community-sponsored radio here, but along with the beauty of that, we have to comply with certain FCC standards, and we push it as far as we can. I think we've said every word on the show that we can, and even sometimes maybe accidentally words we're not supposed to.
And we're actually trying not to. That's what's funny.
Yeah, we're like, well, okay, I guess we'll try again next week.
We'll do better.
Well, anyways, brothers,
all we can do is put our best forth effort.
Exactly, put our best foot forth. I want to talk to you about something else, man, that I got to learn about you, and really I had so much fun with you out there, man, just getting to know everybody at the Plymouth House, and really you guys just showing me love, and I very much appreciate that, and looking forward to showing you guys the same thing back when you guys come down to Houston. But I respect that
you're a beautiful guest. Beautiful. I was just going to say, you're a beautiful house guest, Derrick. My crew loves you.
All right, well, I appreciate that, man. Definitely. I want to come back and hang out, and I'm excited to have all you guys come down, because really, you guys are going to get to come experience Houston, and there's a lot of good things happening in Houston. But specifically, we're excited to have you guys come experience and perform. We have like 4 of the housemates performing for the community: Iron Bison, Chris DeCola, as you mentioned, and CSK. So it'll be exciting to have all you guys there, and I'm excited to show Houston some of Cleveland and show Cleveland some of Houston. But I wanted to say that I really respect it that you among other people we know out here who are dedicated to their craft, they get out there. We know some people out here who just hustle their mixtapes and their CDs out in the parking lots, talking to anybody they can, just flowing in the streets, just trying to get people to pay attention to, or people who go out there and busk. And that's something that you do as well. I was out there during the Republican National Convention, which was obviously a circus in town, and it brought the circus to Cleveland. And you were out there busking and playing your music. I just want you to talk for a minute, if you can, on what this music means to you, and even just why you feel the desire and the drive to go out there and do that, to be out there on the street and to play your music and to dedicate, as you said, 5 hours when you're supposed to be working your other job, writing lyrics to something that you want to release just because you care about it, because you're dedicated to putting out every week. What does that mean to you, and why do you spend the time going out there and busking?
Wow, that's a great question. Oh man, I love radio interviews, man. It feels like a therapy session. I guess because I like to look on people's face when you can tell that they identify with the same kind of truth that you're spitting forward, like especially with the busking. Busking, my favorite part about it is that there's no stage. So there's nothing really separating you from your audience. Your audience, say, is taking part in the creative activity as much as you are, especially with what I do. Usually I get people to give me a topic, and I'll just go off whatever topic they want. I'll make songs just for them, which I guess, kind of forcing the creative process is sort of similar to what I do with the Wednesday things, too, just, keep the content cranking out of me, because I feel fulfilled to just make things. I think that's just kind of like an artistic thing as a person. I feel fulfilled to make things, and just the idea that someone is enjoying it half as much as I am it makes it rewarding to do. So, especially at street performing, it's when someone's there and they agree to listen to you on the street and you're making a song just for them, seeing someone's face go from oh, I bet you can't, to a genuine smile and lit up, that's better than drugs, man.
Absolutely. I definitely understand that feeling, man. So what would it take for us to get for you to throw something on the spot for us?
What would it take you right now to put something on the spot?
Yeah, you think you could come up with something on the spot, or is that too much pressure?
No, it's not too much pressure, man. I do this for a living.
All right, Micah, think of a word.
Well, we've been talking a lot about privacy and security versus surveillance states, so maybe go somewhere with that theme.
Okay, like a police state going on.
Like Big Brother.
Like looking in on you,
Big Brother looking in on your life.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, man. Go for it.
I say, someone's watching me when I go to sleep at night. Someone's listening in on everything I say, everything I say. I bet that the FCC can hear me, and I've got a $300 fine too near me, nearly here. They're listening. Don't you get sick of hearing the same old listening? They're listening. Don't you get sick of knowing what kind of porn I watch?
Yes. Awesome stuff, man. Thank you.
About allowed to speak about porn? Is that a thing?
No, you're good. You're good. You didn't say anything wrong there. It's funny when you see the list of
there's words I think they wouldn't let us say that I go check, and I'm like, I can say that all day.
There's words that I probably wouldn't even choose to say because I'm like, I don't want. There's certain people listening, maybe that'll, just maybe there's no need to say that, but I'm like allowed to say it. And then there's words you wouldn't expect.
We can't say a producer we love's name, Falcon, FCKER. There's no.
There's certain ways that you can't talk about male genitalia, but you did a great job. That was awesome, man.
Thanks, dude.
I wanna play another song from you, the one you sent me that's called Most of Me. Go ahead and set this up for us, and then we'll play it.
All right, man. So Most of Me was my second week. So 2 weeks ago I wrote this song, and this kid, his name is Jake, he stays at this house that I kind of crash at while I'm working as this bike delivery guy. And this kid came up to me and told me about how he just has no aspirations or dreams, and was really broken down. And I tried to give him my best kind of pep talk that I could, but basically I came to the realization I don't really know what my purpose is in life. But at this point, 24, I'm just gonna pick this music and just pick something and just do it. That kind of was my advice to the kid. And so I kind of just gave my take on really not knowing what you're supposed to do. But, I mean, you got to do something.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. Well, this is Most of Me by CSK. You're listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston.
Nice.
Nah. I used to think I had to figure out my destiny to follow my dreams. Now I figure I'll pick something and stick with it. Long enough to get sick of it or sick with it. And if I get sick of it, I pick another mission. I'm young enough to not get stuck. I can pick up and leave anytime that I want. I may not know what it takes to be happy, but I'm sick of waiting on a passion to grab me. So I'll walk blind like Eli while waving the peace sign and singing everything will be fine. I got the nerve to believe in me whenever what I fear so much as even speaks. I shut that down like a frozen PC. Or better yet, I shut it down like I was the police. And fear is an invisible, occipital, critical criminal with a pistol, living in my subliminal. Shooting down all of my original thoughts, shooting down impulses until I'm insulted. And so engrossed to being stuck in a box that fear locks, but fear not. The key to unlocking is confidence. So high expectations are the consequence. Now I gotta stay on top of condiments. If it's understood that you're good, no one claps till you're great. You collapse and they laugh in your face. You either get back up or tap out the race. But if you give up now, was the past all a waste? If you take a step back to detach and ask yourself, should I start from scratch or should I ask for help? Cause I don't know what I'm supposed to be, man, but I'll be man if I don't make the most of me. Cause I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me.
If you think you trapped, I'll lead you out. You can come with me, the freedom route. Let me open your eyes, cause we been living fine. Got me waiting for the moment, but I think it's about time. Cause we living and we breathing, and there's nothing like this moment. Anytime I've ever been down, my people just keep me going. Got me screaming huff crowd from the top of my pyramid. And I won't come down to the whole village hearing it. Count out how people diminish unfinished images. Killed everything that's chivalrous, then the question is, where is the shit? Well, it's been lost deep within us. And my God, can we please bring it up? Because I'm tired of watching people throw away their potential. I've met 1,000 brilliant artists that ain't get the credentials that they deserve. And then clowns bound, the clown just test your nerve. But I'm still down, proud, blessed with every step I earn.
Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know.
Yes, indeed, I seen the people on the sidelines, terrified to up and leave the comfort of them guidelines, living like they buy time. I spend it patiently waiting, it's like innate to me, playing this game in order to get a taste of this limelight. I swear to God, I must have said this shit 100 times, I'm trying to rhyme my lines right. I kept myself up at night, up until I started sedating me. I no longer face my fears are facing me. Eyes closed, whispers of the demons never phasing me. Man, I'm a motherfucking do or die with a place to be. I hold my head up high, about as high as I am. I tell my friends I'm fine, and I don't lie to my fam. Arriving right on time, I'm right on point with the man. And the shit I do with the pen in the past, phenomenal dude. I keep the close ones close to me, the ones who see the most of me. It's Josh's birthday with my homies, where I'm supposed to be loading up on that dopamine. That's that shit that makes the most of me.
Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me. Maybe I don't know what I'm supposed to be. All I know is I'ma try to make the most of me.
Yeah, that was CSK, Most of Me. Listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT.
Definitely
Houston.
a good message.
And we got Toby right here. How you doing, man? That was an awesome song.
Dude, I'm doing great, man. I'm telling you right now, I feel like I'm on cloud nine. That was sweet. I'm in this like apartment complex, like the first floor. So I was bobbing out real hard, and 2 people just came off the elevator and watched me just zoning out on this phone call.
Yeah, they have no idea you're on the phone or on radio out in Houston going. We actually have listeners down in Australia and all over the place. So people probably hearing the music that you wouldn't run into, and that's always a great opportunity. And we appreciate musicians such as yourself providing that opportunity for us, and at the same time allowing us to provide that opportunity, because it is a big community to get these ideas, not just any old music, but music with ideas and creativity. People like bothering to believe in themselves and put it out there like that. So thanks, man, and thanks for coming on the show for sure.
Oh, dude, anytime, no problem, guys. Seriously, it's a blessing.
Absolutely, brother.
I look forward to meeting you in person when you get down here for the community, man.
You as well. I've heard about you.
Well, brother, we wanted to thank you for your time with us today and give you an opportunity. If you have anything else to say, any links you want to plug before we end this phone call with you, go ahead and do it.
All right, man. Well, I'm first say shout out to all my boys, Huff Crowd. It's got a band camp called Huff Crowd, HOUGHCROWD. .bandcamp.com, huffcrowd.bandcamp.com. That's where I post that song every week. This coming Wednesday, I don't even know what I'm doing for this Wednesday. I'm going to do the same thing I did last week. I got a beat on my way when I get home from work, and I'm going to write it all tomorrow. Record it tomorrow, too. Shout out to Chris Cola and Cheryl, who were on that last song. Man, I showed up at the studio, and they didn't have anything written. I didn't have a third or a second verse, and I just asked them if they wanted to write a verse, and they came through on those verses, too.
Awesome.
And other than that,
Beautiful.
man, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you in Houston.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for everything.
No problem. Love you, bro.
Sounds good, man. And I hope all the listeners out there appreciate it, or at least some of them, and can get into it, because we really do work to try to find music that you might like.
Yeah, that's huffcrowd.bandcamp.com, and that's where you can find CSK. You can find them on Facebook at Create, Share, Know, all one word. And
you
check
can
out
find them in
tunes.
Houston,
and
November
Houston
12th.
For the community, November 12th. And like he said, they try to release a new song every Wednesday.
I think that's really cool, because it's like exercise. You push yourself, and I think everybody could take something from that. Whatever they're trying to do. We have some friends that talk about doing things forever. You know what I'm saying? So props to that guy that's sticking to something, and doing the best he could do.
Challenging yourself. I think it's a good job. All right, well, let's move on with some of our news. Thanks again to everybody who's been tuned in. I want to remind you guys that you can follow us on Facebook at Freethinker Radio, the Houston Freethinkers, and Visionary Noise for some of the music that you hear. If you follow the Visionary Noise page, you'll get to see when those bands have shows coming around Houston that we help out with. And, of course, follow, like, and share content from KPFT, 90.1 KPFT Houston. And if you get time, go to kpft.org. Go check out the archives. You can scroll through there and see the other shows that pop up. I have another show that we do periodically about drug addiction. There's shows about music. There's shows about other aspects of activism in Houston, different things, a whole variety. And as we said earlier, it's all community-supported, community-funded radio. So if you want to support them,
no retread.
Yeah, and you get to hear awesome local music exposed to new ideas, things you won't hear other places.
You'll hear it first, even the ones that you might hear other places later. Think about that. That's always fun, right?
We're ahead of the curve.
Like anybody that comes famous typically was someone, on the local to begin with, or on the regional. And yeah, there's big mainstream music played. We've played it before, but definitely focus on the region, and that's always an opportunity to hear something amazing when it's first coming out, and to feel the full growth of a band, you know what I mean? Instead of just, here they are famous and then they're gone,
Absolutely. Well, I want to go into a story here about this historic treaty that was just signed by First Nations, Indigenous communities, and tribes in Canada and northern United States, so basically all across North America. They signed a historic treaty opposing future pipeline, rail, and tanker projects that will attempt to carry crude oil from Alberta's oil sands. This is last Thursday. Tribes from Canada and northern United States signed a treaty declaring their opposition to future proposals for pipelines that would carry crude oil from Alberta to other locations across Canada and the U.S. The tribal nations are opposed to the pipelines based on potential threats to the environment. Reuters reported that the Treaty Alliance Against Tar Sands Expansion, which is the official name of this group and this treaty, was signed by 50 Aboriginal groups in North America who plan to oppose tanker and rail projects in both countries. And some of the projects that they are opposing are owned by Kinder Morgan Incorporated, the TransCanada Corp, and Enbridge Incorporated, which is also has a stake in the Dakota Access Pipeline project that has received lots of resistance recently. And the Canadian Energy Pipeline Association told Reuters that the industry is open to hearing Indigenous concerns, but that they believe oil is necessary to move Canada forward. The association told Reuters the fact remains there is a critical need for pipelines in Canada. And the Grand Chief Sergei Simon, who is one of the people speaking in the statement on the signing of the treaty, said the following: "What this treaty means is that from Quebec we will work with our First Nations allies in British Columbia to make sure that the Kinder Morgan pipeline does not pass, and we will also work with our tribal allies in Minnesota as they take on Enbridge's Line 3 expansion, and we know they'll help us to do the same against Energy East in our area." And he was referring to the TransCanada's plan to carry 1.1 billion barrels of crude per day from Alberta to Canada's east coast. And this treaty was also signed by the Standing Rock Sioux, who, as I mentioned, have been fighting the
You
Dakota
can go visit the
pipeline.
TransCanada. You can go visit the TransCanada building in Houston if you want, the old Tenneco building on Louisiana.
Yeah, and there's also an Enbridge headquarters. You can also, the company that's helping out with the Dakota Access Pipeline, they're downtown as well. We're a big energy city, so if you have something to say to them, they're around.
Yeah, they're our neighbors. You should be able to go talk to them.
I really like this aspect. This is from the Treaty Alliance website, which their official website is treatyalliance.org. It says, "The Alliance is part of an indigenous sovereignty resurgence taking place all over Turtle Island, where indigenous peoples are reasserting themselves as the legitimate governments and caretakers of their territories. The allied signatory indigenous nations aim to prevent a pipeline/train/tanker spill from poisoning their water and stop the tar sands from increasing its output and becoming an even bigger obstacle to solving the climate crisis. The world might not be able to immediately stop using oil tomorrow, but the last thing it needs is more oil, and especially not more of the dirtiest oil on the planet. It is critical that we urgently start building a more sustainable future, and signatory nations want to be at the heart of that building process." So I think it's a historic treaty and another example of the coming together of these indigenous communities that we've seen recently with the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline. That link is posted in the Freethinker Radio Facebook event, as all the others.
Yeah, definitely. Posting these links means a lot because, some people are just hearing about these stories. Some people want to dig deeper. Some people will talk to people about it, but won't have the physical evidence to back them up. And these stories are we put them out there for that express purpose, so that you can, on these issues that you're concerned about, have them dig deeper if that's your wish, or share them with other people, or use them when people say, "You're crazy for doing that or thinking that." And then look, it's in the New York Times. Most of this stuff, like I said, doesn't come. We support alternative media. We meet a lot of alternative media people. We consider ourselves alternative media. But we often have to work all the way back up to some source that people take as credible in order to defend that these things are happening, that conspiracies are happening, that banks are doing these things, that, the people are being spied on, that drone bombings are taking place, that Guantanamo isn't closed. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to. That was a bit of a rant. But hey, I got some stuff to tell y'all about. I want to make sure that you do know, though, like I said, where to find all this stuff, because it's more important than what we're telling you, those original stories. So getting into it, it turns out that the Senate is going to question Wells Fargo on some sham accounts. Wells Fargo's chief executive, John Stumpf, was basically questioned from the Senate Banking Committee over widespread creation of sham banking accounts and credit cards. Yep. Bank employees trying to meet strict sales goals. Like when you have a quota. We sometimes talk about that with maybe traffic tickets. So these bank employees had a big quota. It turns out that the chief executive there, John Stumpf, has publicly said that the sales were not the result of a flawed culture inside the bank, though. Committee members are expected to ask why he and other top managers did not do more to stop the practices, which have gone on unchecked since at least 2013, at least. You imagine that, the banks were failing, getting bailed out, and creating sham accounts. Moving a little bit further in the story, over on CNBC, they talk about it as well. Turns out that the Wells Fargo CEO, who is being questioned by the Senate, has decided he's going to go ahead and step down. We talk about the revolving door, right, of corporatism. So this Wells Fargo CEO is going to step down from what? The Federal Reserve Advisory Council. You mean this guy who was helping with sham accounts is on the Federal Reserve Advisory Council? What do you mean yeah, that's not surprising, right? Wells Fargo CEO John Stumpf stepped down officially from the Federal Reserve Advisory Council Thursday. Turns out that he was at the San Francisco Federal Reserve. The announcement came just days after he appeared before the Senate Banking Committee on Wells Fargo sales practices and roughly 2 million accounts that the bank opened without customer authorization. Basically, creating a credit card for you, whether you wanted it or not, to create fake accounts. The CEO said on Tuesday he's deeply sorry. I'm sorry. For the conduct that failed to fulfill our responsibilities to our customers. I'm sorry we failed. And but, I guess I should go ahead and resign from the Federal Reserve. Yeah, most of y'all ought to. Wells Fargo told CNBC that John made a personal decision to resign as the 12th District's representative to the Federal Advisory Council. His top priority is leading Wells Fargo. Yeah, maybe that's the, something we should think about. If we have an entity that's printing our store of value, why would we want the people who are making money off of the store of value being the people who determined what that entity did? I don't know. Oh, right. Is that a separation of bank and state? I don't know. The Fed's bank spokesperson said that the search process for Stumpf's a successor will begin soon. And yep. Turns out that lots going on with Japan and the Federal Reserve. I don't really get it all, but what matters for the yen, the dollar, and interest rates in both U.S. and Japan is what the Fed does next. It turns out that Japan is lowering their yields on their bonds, and we run into this a lot with different central banks trying to stimulate the economy. Turns out the Bank of Japan has decided to peg 10-year interest rates around 0%. Okay, well, you know what I'm saying? Is noteworthy and a departure in form for that bank. But what will matter next for the yen, the dollar, and interest rates in both countries is more what the Fed does. The Fed's own meeting will indicate that those interest rates are heading higher later this year. In theory, higher rates from the Fed will draw money out of Japan toward higher yielding dollar assets, causing the yen to weaken. But there are new variables to consider. The Bank of Japan's policy reset ensures long-term domestic rates will stay at or above zero. This could dissuade Japanese savers from investing abroad, reducing pressure for the yen to weaken. You see all this? This is not a free market. This is central financial control. That said, rates in Japan aren't going to turn higher than those in the U.S., so this is unlikely to draw Japanese investors back en masse. What could change their minds, however, are surging U.S. dollar funding costs. Since the Fed rates raised in December of 2015, the cost to hedge currency risk has risen so much that it has eroded much of the pickup in yield in Japanese investors gained by buying treasuries. So, get a little bit into that. Things are going on. And I thought this one was, as far as banks manipulating other banks, central banks, fiefdoms. Low demand for capital explains the Federal Reserve's impotence. This one here, it came out from Forbes. I thought it was pretty interesting. One of today's greatest economic mysteries is why the demand for capital is low. Weak demand for capital is the reason that the Federal Reserve's policies are not stimulating the economy. Economists don't fully understand it, but there's a chance, not a certainty, of a turnaround next year. Economists believe that the demand curve sloped downward, meaning at lower prices, a greater quantity is demanded. We're going to give it to you cheaper. In terms of capital, when interest rates are lower, then the amount of capital borrowed should be greater. All other things being equal. I mean, think about it, like we were just talking about with Japan. You get zero interest for 10 years. Don't you think that the dollar is going to be worth less in 10 years or worthless? So, it's a kind of a no-brainer, yeah, give me that money today. So they, trying to create debtors because that's how banks operate. They open accounts, whether they're a sham or not, to create debtors that then owe the banks, and that's how the banks make money. Maybe nothing really that wrong in it if it was just done above board. But, when you start running countries and setting the economies for countries, it gets a little bit more than just the place you keep your money, So it turns on that, they're not really understanding why, since the Fed is keeping everything so low, why aren't people out there demanding more capital? On the business side, we seem to be living according to John Maynard Keynes' observation that businesses won't borrow if they don't expect to sell more goods. Expectations by business leaders are dour. Keynes should also Keynes was also thinking of companies adding capacity, but low interest rates should also stimulate substitution of capital for labor, automation in one form or another, basically buying equipment that you can buy today and pay for tomorrow to replace workers. The substitution could also be capital for raw materials. So when new machinery reduces waste of physical materials, substitution could also reduce land use, as when farmers use better equipment to increase production per acre. Statistics don't differentiate between possible motivations for capital spending, but conversations with business leaders indicate that efficiency is the driving force behind most business expenditures today. So people aren't borrowing money to go and try things. People are either just doing it on their own and trying to make it happen, which we see that through the farmers markets, through the artists, through so many things that go on, the food truck industry in Houston alone, not to mention so many others. I don't think people are wanting your money. They don't want to be enslaved to your debt machine. Maybe that's the real reason, so I've been kind of running on the Fed for a minute. Need to catch my breath. You got some things to talk to us about, Mr. Broze?
We're going to cut to some music now and give it a break. We've been talking for a little bit about news. We're going to let you guys check out another artist that'll be performing at For the Community. This is Positive Disturbance with Revolutionary Culture. And check them out.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen them live, they're really awesome. And definitely want to see them at For the Community. This is Revolutionary Culture. You're listening to Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston.
Everything we taught ourselves to fail us, assuming we buy all the shit they sell us, the shit they never tell us, the consequences bound to leave us helpless. Accumulate the interest, the mood is on vengeance. Resume all the picket, signs of the wicked. Mind on a meal ticket, wood steering wheel gripping. Tell me how it feels pimping when you being pimp. The world's on trial, looking like it's gonna face a while. And if your stock's in the Dow, then you know it's going down. This ain't just H-Town. When they hear us knocking boots, Washington gon' hear us marching like we riding with them troops. We riding for the truth, take pride in what you do. And if you wanna see a change, make a change inside of you. We riding for the truth, take pride in what you do. And if you wanna see a change, make a change inside of you. They don't want no revolution. Yeah, ain't a thing gonna change. We all do the same. Yeah, and they don't want a revolution. To dream the incredible, overcome the impossible, overturn the empowered, override and devour. Open your mind, this is ours. No better time than it's now. They don't want no revolution. See, they consider us a nuisance. Yeah, so this is a call for retribution, to bring an end to them greedy institutions. This is the truth, huh? This is the movement. Occupy all street, my street, your street. Bring it back to Wall Street. All speak, one voice. I preach, one choice. Bring it back, rewind that. This is where we grind at. This is where we get back life that they took from us. Crooks stay crooked with faces that never look for us. This is for the broken, beat down, hopeless. Fist in the air, revolutionary culture. They don't want no revolution, and they don't want no revolution. Fist in the air, revolutionary culture. They don't want no revolution. Fist in the air, revolutionary culture. They don't. Fist in the
as a free individual, to humanize the markets, and to have true participatory democracy, bottom-up democracy, and to make Wall Street hear the sound of what democracy means.
That was Positive Disturbance with Revolutionary Culture. You can find them on Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all that good stuff. And you can find them here in Houston on November 12th at For the Community, number 12 at the Last Concert Cafe and East Down Warehouse. And I'm sure they've got other shows coming up too, so check them out.
Yeah, find these bands' pages and give them a like, because, you know, we have a chance to play a few songs of theirs, but just like most of the mainstream music you might like, that you only hear certain songs on the radio, it's the same thing here. We can only cover so much, so they probably have a wealth of other music, and I know Positive Disturbance does, that you can dig into, and the only way to do that is to plug into it. So if you like a band, take that time right then and just go ahead and whip that phone out.
Whip it out, check it out. All right, let's move on to some more information as we near down to the last 15 to 18 minutes of the show. One story I do want to update you guys on, I know we talked about this last week, the anticipation of President Obama vetoing the 9/11 family members' lawsuits.
Now, why would he do that?
Specifically vetoing a bill that was passed in the Senate and in the House unanimously called JASTA, Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, which would allow victims of terrorism and their families to sue nations suspected of financing or otherwise sponsoring terrorism.
You don't want justice?
Currently, under the law, it's only legal for countries who are on the U.S. government's state sponsors of terror list, which includes North Korea and Iran. It's only legal for you to sue them if they're on that list. But if they're not, if they're an ally of the U.S., you can't sue them. And Obama and the White House have said basically that they are worried that the bill would open the White House officials, U.S. officials, up to all kinds of lawsuits that are taking place. And so basically they're just worried that, oh, well, we've committed crimes. We don't want to be hauled into some foreign court because some civilian
that we did
in another country says, hey, we need to take them to court. So basically they're just covering up for themselves. And this is unfortunate because the U.S., they parade around this mantra of never forget 9/11, like they care about the family members, and anybody who questions 9/11 is disrespecting the family members or the victims or whatever. But obviously that's all a lie, and the U.S. government, especially Obama, for whatever reason, whatever his motivations are, he doesn't care enough to make this decision.
You know, it disrespects the victims. Lying.
Yeah, lying about it. And the reason that this is important to many of the family members is because the recent release of the 28 pages, and really for years people have known that 14 of the 19 alleged hijackers had connections to the Saudi government, as did the Bush family and plenty of others. And there's also the questionable involvement of transferring of money from the Pakistan Secret Service, from Israel, and maybe elements of the U.S. government. So there's tons of different questions. And essentially the family members have tried to rally and say, like, we want to sue Saudi Arabia. We want to sue for see if we can get more information, or the civil trial or criminal trial. And that's what this is really about. Well, Obama did go ahead and, in fact, veto that bill last Friday, and immediately the Congress said that they were going to do what they could to try to override it, and they're trying to get their votes together. Now, it was reported just about an hour ago that the Senate is set to vote on Wednesday on Obama's veto. The Senate will vote on Wednesday whether to override Obama's veto of the bill. Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell said that it will be the first action in an attempt by lawmakers on to override Obama's veto on this recent veto, And a successful override of the veto, of course, requires 2/3 of lawmakers in the Senate and the House. And it seems, though, that they're reporting they do have the numbers. And Obama, of course, warned that other countries could use the law as an excuse to sue U.S. diplomats, members of the military, or companies, even for actions of foreign organizations that had received U.S. aid. So McConnell said,
well, if they're innocent, why would they be?
Yeah, exactly.
Worried?
What's the worry? McConnell said Wednesday's vote will follow 2 hours of debate divided by Republicans and Democrats. No time for the vote has been set currently, but that is happening Wednesday. So, of course, we will, if you follow the Freethinker Radio Facebook page, we'll be posting the news as soon as it comes out, what the vote is, and we'll dissect that next Wednesday.
You're free.
Next Monday.
You're free, but we'll tell you who you can sue. You're free, and
you can't sue our partners. You can't sue our partners in crime. Wait, well, they behead more people than any other nation. They have human rights violations. Well, it's okay as long as they're on our side and they're providing us with oil.
And I think you need to think about the relationship between George Bush and Barack Obama right here. Obama will not approve this.
Yeah, absolutely. This Mr. Hope and Change.
Yeah. Anyway, moving forward. All kinds of things going on, all kinds of news. Yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to cover more for a change. We've really been able to get out there on a few new things this show, so appreciate that. Turns out that, oh my goodness, CIA's in the news, always in the news. Turns out that, one of the headline ones of them, because they got to have a reason to be out there, but one of the, keep the buzz going on them, keep it sexy to be a spy. The CIA director reveals, keep it sexy to be secret police. CIA director reveals he was once a communist sympathizer. Are you surprised? One form of collectivism or another. You know what I'm saying there? I hope so. If not, I'd be willing to talk to you about it. But for now, it turns out that in 1976, the future CIA director, John Brennan, was a college student, basically a young person digging into some communist ideas, and I guess it's turned out that he had some doubts about that, and decided that he realized that American capitalism was the one true way, as if whatever that is. I mean, I don't even know what to call that.
Statism, capitalism,
corporatism.
It's all statism.
Collectivism, one way or another. So he basically traded out some Marxist-Leninist stuff for some, National Socialism type things, it seems. And, maybe we're talking too far saying it that way, but if you really think about it, if you check out what corporatism is, you will see. And we talk about it all the time. So, then decided to devote his life to Uncle Sam's intelligence apparatus. Yep, or at least that's what the former Pinko now claims. Last week, during a panel discussion on diversity in the intelligence community, Brennan revealed that a unique background he brought with him to the CIA. He remembered that during a polygraph test he took when he entered the agency, a hair-raising moment when he was asked whether he had ever been associated with a group dedicated to overthrowing the United States. Well, it all depends on how you look at it, I think. Which United States? The shadow government or that Constitution thing? I really don't know anymore, Anyway, so yeah, that was way back in the 80s, and yeah, he'd voted for Communist Party candidates, and whatever that means, it's a Democratic Republic or whatever you want to call it. I don't care who he voted for. I just care that he's in the CIA, and then we have that whole thing going on. But that's their way of, that was just their little being in the top, whether you're reading Das Kapital or ordering a drone stack, it's kind of, up to Brennan. Anyway, moving forward.
I got one here about a new law in North Carolina, which may be the last, according to this headline, the last police video you see coming out of North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Why is that? Because on Saturday, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department finally released camera footage of Keith Lamont Scott's death, which has, of course, been a subject of controversy and rioting. That video, though, may be the last one that gets released to the public, because a new law that goes into effect this week will prevent crucial dashcam footage from being released in North Carolina. CNN reports that North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory signed the law 2 months ago, and it will go into effect on October 1st, this Saturday. The law will block the public from being able to view recordings from police dash cams and similar kind of footage like body cameras. The governor said it's about respecting the public, respecting the family, and also respecting the constitutional rights of the officer. One viewpoint of a video doesn't always tell the whole story. The angles can make a difference, and you're not hearing the sound often in the video, so that adds to the complexity. The video is one piece of evidence. We have to be careful. The executive director of the ACLU's Northern Carolina chapter said, video footage of police shootings can provide crucial evidence of what took place, especially when there are conflicting accounts from police and community members. What we already know is that far too many people of color are victims of wrongful targeting and excessive use of force by law enforcement around the country. So the law is basically saying that, basically the police can deny access to body camera footage, dash cam footage, etc., and the public has a right to appeal that through a judge in a lengthy process, etc., which is making it harder and harder for people to get access to the footage that will show one way or the other. Hey, did this police officer act violent, or was this person being aggressive and the officer was just defending himself? So if they're going to enact laws like that, which I imagine if that law is already passed, it's about to become on the books this Saturday, and if it doesn't get repealed, you tend to expect other states to take up something similar, especially if they have luck with that. And then you have this really even more restrictive than now fight for evidence when it comes to police violence and police shootings. Then what the heck is the point of all those body cameras?
Yeah, maybe it's just more filming. Make you feel comfortable. Here, have a banky.
We'll make you feel comfortable, but it will be far from real security.
Yeah, we'll tell you who you can sue. We'll tell you what you can see and
watch out for the body camera deception.
What you can buy.
If you got anything to say about these topics, please feel free to call in at 713-526-8737. We've got about 13 minutes left with you guys, and we're always happy to hear from you if you have anything to say about today's show. Now, you got something? I got maybe one more thing that I definitely want to talk about. But
we got time for that. Let me just hit these headlines.
Go for it.
I don't got too much here, but let me just hit this because these stories are very involved and much further than I'm going to get into. I hope to just titillate your desire to know more about this. So, yeah, this one here is from Consortium News, but 40 years ago, a car bomb exploded in Washington, killing Chile's ex-foreign minister Orlando Letelier in an act of state terrorism that the CIA and its director, George H.W. Bush, have tried to cover up. Robert Perry reported in 2000 and gets into that story a bit much. You'll find that link. It's kind of interesting because it boils down to people being on the CIA's payroll and involved in Operation Condor and just all this crazy back and forth and who's killing who and stuff you just didn't even know went on. But yeah, and there's an article out that you might want to check into. It's from Ars Technica. It's always a great source for technology news as well as some social stuff. But thanks, Internet. Messing with elections, not just for the CIA anymore. I thought that one was good. All these will be in there. One that I feel like we could spend a show on is this CIA's venture capital firm, like its sponsor operating in the shadows and the type of thing that these firms do.
What's the CIA up to now?
All kinds of things. We don't know. They don't know, it turns out. But NQTel is very, very, it's a venture capital fund that is very, very limited information, very dark, very hard to know what's going on in there. And, of course, that's interesting, You can get more into that. And I know we don't have many minutes. We got about 8. So get these last couple of headlines out, and I'll put those articles in there. And hopefully y'all can dig deeper into the ones that you're interested in. And this one's from Fox News recently. CIA withheld data on a double agent in Watergate. New news on Watergate scandal. It's an eternal history of the Watergate scandal that was prepared by the CIA that came out that revealed this. It's titled Working Draft CIA Watergate History. It's a 155-page study that obviously we can't cover right now. But this gentleman who put it together, a lot of the work came from John C. Richards, CIA officer who died in 1974. Moves into talking about more than you knew about Watergate. And, I think that's it. There's a couple others. I'll just put the links in there and y'all can dig into them if you're into it.
Cool. There's one more thing I want to just speculate on for a moment. Well, before I get to the speculation, I'll tell you this real story. I'm writing an article on this one, and I just found this to be interesting. And again, this is another topic that we could spend a lot of time on. Instead, I'll throw a documentary suggestion your way that maybe in your own time you could check out that touches on some of these topics. First, though, let's get into the story. It's being reported by Reuters that a group of 40 investors, which manage over $1.25 trillion in assets, are issuing a letter to some of the top food companies in the world, 16 top global food companies, urging them to start shifting from meat to plant-based protein due to environmental and health risks. A group of 40 investors managing $1.25 trillion in assets have launched a campaign to change the way that the top food companies source protein for their products to help reduce environmental and health risks. The investors, which include the fund arm of insurer Aviva and several Swedish state pension funds, wrote to the food companies on September 23rd, urging them to respond to the, quote, material risks of industrial farming and to diversify into plant-based sources of protein. Among these companies that are being targeted, Kraft Heinz, Nestle, Unilever, Tesco, and Walmart. A statement from the group says the world's over-reliance on factory farm livestock to feed the growing global demand for protein is a recipe for a financial, social, and environmental crisis. He said pollution from intensive livestock production is already at a too high a level, while safety and welfare standards are too low, and the industry cannot cope with the projected increase in global protein demand. Investors want to know if major food companies have a strategy to avoid this protein bubble and to profit from a plant-based protein market set to grow by 8.4% annually over the next 5 years. So, obviously, they're looking at it from a money standpoint, making, like you said, investing, making the profit, etc. But I think that touches on the topics of a documentary we screened a few months back called Cowspiracy that looks at the a plant-based diet, and really whether or not you have moral arguments about eating animals or not, but just how unsustainable the practice itself has become. The amount of gallons of water it takes to get one hamburger, and just the amount of land that a cow needs, it's not sustainable. They're deforesting lands all over the world to maintain the beef habit that the world has. So I would say that's something to look into. And last thing, I guess my little speculation here to wrap it up on my front.
Sanders and Clinton campaigning together in New Orleans.
I'm throwing some other links up here that you guys can check. I mentioned the Internet of Things earlier, and we've talked about it in the past, but there's an interesting article talking about the coming 5G wireless and how that'll relate to the Internet of Things. But essentially the last thing I want to mention is just that there's been a rash of shootings. We touched about this earlier, and some of them just seem to be out of place. I don't know. I don't get too much into the false flag stuff that much often anymore, but I don't necessarily believe everything I see on TV is reality. And there was a recent shooting in Washington, 20-year-old suspect shooting in a Washington State mall. And I just noticed that there's a number of reports from people saying that he was in a zombie-like state. That got me thinking about the history of people like Sirhan Sirhan, James Holmes, the Colorado Batman shooter at the theater, how a number of these people are found to be in hypnotic, quote, zombie-like passive states, and people are curious as whether, and we know that the CIA, again, those guys have been researching mind control, MK Ultra for 50 plus years at least, and they say they officially stopped, but maybe the technology's just gotten better. You also have people like Sirhan, who supposedly was the assassin of Robert Kennedy. His lawyer saying that he was a hypnotized patsy who wasn't the actual killer. I mean, there's a lot to these things. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole today, look into the guy from the 20-year-old suspect in Washington State. Just search that, zombie-like. You'll see the reports. Look into Sirhan. Look into government mind control, mind influencing technology, and have fun down that.
Look into
hole.
why Sanders and Clinton are campaigning together.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to check out, guys. We got to let you go for the day, though, but we're going to close out. Who should we close out with,
Thanks for being
Micah?
with us, as always, man. Some good music. I don't know, man. That's
maybe some more Vox Voces.
That's exactly what I was thinking, but yeah.
All right, we'll get them. And we do stay tuned to the Visionary Noise and Freethinker Radio Facebook pages and For the Community 12. We're going to be announcing some new artists that are going to be playing. Basically, this is the last week we're announcing, and we have 40 artists, 39, 40 around there that'll be performing.
And it won't be rained out.
And even if it does rain, guess what?
Everyone go to Easttown.
We'll have a backup plan.
That we will.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us today on Freethinker Radio. We'll be back next Monday, same time, same channel. Check out youtube.com/Houston Freethinkers for the archives. Remember, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are free.
Yeah!
Peace.